He's checking on his phone. I'm sure the broadcast. He's checking on his phone. I'm sure the broadcast.
Okay, we're up.
Are we ready? Okay, I'm gonna call this meeting of the Tahlequah Board of Education to order. First, I want to say thank you to everyone at Tahlequah Public Schools. It's Board Member Appreciation Month, and people have outdone themselves with gifts for all of us. I appreciate all my board members, and I appreciate Tahlequah Public Schools, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Megan, we're all here for the first time in a long time. And we're gonna, for the Pledge of Allegiance, Chrissy.
Today we have Avery Eubanks in pre-K in Miss Faulkner's class. She's a daughter of Tabitha Eubanks. Avery loves to ride her bike, go fishing with her mom and dad, and loves to color and draw pictures. We also have Jenny McClure in Miss Faulkner's pre-K class. She is the daughter of Jandy and Blake McClure. Her hobbies are ballet and tap dance classes, swimming, fishing, taking care of her pony Thunder, OSU football, playing with her 1-year-old brother, coloring, painting, and staying all night with her great grandma. Brother, coloring, painting, and staying all night with her great grandma. Coloring, painting, and staying all night with her great grandma.
Okay, Tigers Roar.
We have some videos for this THS TMS All-State Choir and Band. Mrs. Sis, Mrs. Bride, and Mr. Allen sent those in. So I believe Mr. Batson is that ready to go for us to watch. That's a good question. I'll have to find that out. I know it's broadcast. I just don't know where they broadcast it, but I'll find that out and send it out to the group.
My question was, how's Holly, is it?
That's a good question.
Fire director, how's
I know it's broadcast. But I'll find that out.
you can't get together? My question is,
They're doing the best they can. Matt, do you have any other?
I did not hear that because of all the sound. I didn't hear your question.
I was wondering how Mrs. Sisk is handling rehearsals and things like that under the current situations when we have to social distance and wear masks and all that kind of thing.
I think
Do
she's
you know how she's
calling
doing
a
that?
little bit, not a whole bunch, but I know that she calls them in at separate times. Like they don't all get to go in at the same time. And she has areas that she does that in.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and then they have to record them, you know what I'm saying, virtually and send off. So there's some of that privacy there, so they're not on top of each other. So other than that, I don't know, but I could find out.
So if we have a end of the year concert, it'll probably be virtual like the state deal would be then. I mean, we won't all be going into the Performing Arts Center and listening to their programs.
Unless the Board of Education would say we could gather, or the CDC would say we
Yeah.
could gather, I guess.
Yeah, so hopefully it'll be better by that time. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, C, discussion and vote to approve or not approve the monthly financial reports. Oh, we have to hear.
You don't have to. If you don't want to.
We kind of have it very dependable.
Our cash balance at the end of December was $4,395,472.36. In the general fund, in the building fund, it was $298,097.23. Co-op is in a negative $51,544.62. We were told one day last week that we should expect at least a partial payment for the co-op within the next month, but we've kind of heard that before, so we're not going to count it until we receive it. And then, of course, in the sinking fund, it's $516,314.26. Collections in the month of December, substantially much more than they were the previous month, $3,516,406.44, and $70,958.04 in the building fund. Expenditures for the month of December, $2,572,064.63 in payroll, and $537,328.10 in regular accounts payable for fund general and building. Any questions?
Do we get hit with a bunch of overdraft charge for that negative account, or do they just let it ride at the bank?
No, our money is pooled into one pot of money at the bank.
Okay,
And so even though the co-op can run in the negative, the other carries that until we
Okay.
receive it.
thank you.
We have not had in 31 plus years, we've never had insufficient funds in our bank account.
Okay,
We were very close one year. It was about 169,000 left in the bank account. That was about 2001, 2002, where they stopped giving us state aid payments in February. So we were just literally rolling with our cash fund and pretty much just froze spending, and we made it through in the positive where many schools didn't. So yeah, we're very healthy compared to a lot of schools our size and even smaller or larger for that matter.
well, you did a great job, Diane.
Well, thank you, I appreciate that. Activity fund, we are at $649,874.69 in the bank. $256,417.58 are invested in CDs for a total of $906,292.27. I know that Mr. Ashlock is going to share our lovely news about our midterm adjustment. But it's not pretty. We lost about $678,000 from the beginning of the year. Our initial, our second, and our third allocation that was provided to us on July 27th was at $16,202,342.21. And we are down to $15,524,049.38. So we will be adjusting a few things, but really and truly, we're pretty healthy considering the climate that we're in.
Any questions? Thank you. Now, Lori.
I move to approve the monthly financial reports.
I'll second.
All right. Ms. Seaman,
Aye.
Mr. Myers,
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd,
Aye.
Ms. Walker, and I. Superintendent's report.
Okay, first off, I did Board Appreciation Month. Thank you to all the sites who sent something over for you guys. Pass my appreciation on to you. As Ms. Nemo said before the meeting started, the pay is real good. And, your phones ring a lot, whether they're complaining about a teacher or a principal or a superintendent or whatever the case may be, but a lot of time that gets spent into it. I do appreciate your dedication, your professionalism, everything that you bring to the Tahlequah Public Schools. We are fortunate to have such a good board, and I appreciate each one of you, and I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
First off, COVID update. You do have a sheet behind your superintendent's report. Just has a grid with some numbers in it. Is it underneath your computer up there?
Yes. Thank you.
We categorize them in two different groups of numbers. So the first set of numbers at the top, that's going to be our COVID totals from August until today. So we've had 110 positive cases with 1,204 quarantines.
Where are we here? Oh, it's this one. Okay.
So that's from August until today. And also broke it down just so we can see what it's been since we came back from Christmas break. And then we do have some new ones. I heard earlier that we haven't put them out yet, but we got some new positive cases. But as of this morning, we've had 25 positive cases since we came back from Christmas break and 289 quarantines. So that's kind of where we are now. As you can see, the highest numbers were at THS and Cherokee, which Cherokee is kind of the most concerning for us just because that's a higher percentage of their staff. There's more teachers at the high school, even though there's a higher number there. So that's kind of on the top of our list as far as watching for getting close to may having to take a break for a while as far as that goes. But those are your current numbers for COVID.
Will we at any time consider taking a break, as you put it, from one school while the others still meet, or
Yes. If, as you can see where the numbers stand today, most of the other sites are doing okay as far as, teachers. So if it's just shutting one site down for, 7 days or 10 days or whatever the case is to clear all the current positive cases and quarantines, that would be our first step. If it gets to the point where we have, 3-4 sites with high numbers, and that's when we look at district-wide shutdown. But if we can and need to just do 1 or 2 sites, we definitely wouldn't hesitate to do that.
So these are positive cases, students and teachers?
Yeah, it's total. The next thing I have is just kind of and it's not really much of an update, but the vaccine update. I've had conversations with the local hospital, the health department, State Department of Education, Cherokee Nation, county superintendents. We're trying to get something organized, but it just has not gained any traction as far as when we're going to have the vaccine, when healthcare workers can give it to us, where we are having conversations, basically working on 2 possibilities. Number one, we have our own mass vaccination here for our staff one day. Perhaps we go distance learning that day, and then we do nothing, we give shots or whatever the case may be. And there's also, we're having conversations of doing a countywide educator vaccination day, where we would pick one site and then all the county schools would come there, or maybe we'd have multiple sites, just depending. But we're just trying to play out different scenarios and possibilities. So when we're told, here it's time to get the shot, here's your vaccines, and then we can go from there. But as far as anything concrete, anything close to telling you a date or anything like that, I don't have anything. So it's frustrating. I thought at this point we would be getting close to being able to say, hey, in a week, 2 weeks, whatever the case may be, we would have that plan. But that's kind of where we're at right now. Everybody that we're talking to is working hard to try to make it happen, but they're kind of the same situation we are. We're beholden to the government to release enough and for us to organize that. So that's kind of where we are.
I'd like to say that as frustrating as this is for us and as slow as it seems to us in comparison with other states in this country and with the rest of the world, we are way ahead of everybody. And in talking with some of my former sons through the exchange program, they haven't even started yet, like in Brazil. And their numbers are just astronomical. Germany is very similar. So I know we're all very frustrated by this, but it's working, and Oklahoma is doing very well in comparison with Arizona and North Carolina and others around the country. So we just have to be patient, and it'll happen.
And like I said, everybody I've talked to and worked with has been great. It's just a lack of answers and a lack of a timetable. So that's kind of where we are as far as that goes. The next thing is just, and we'll have an agenda item on this later. I just kind of wanted to briefly mention, and I know everybody has kind of heard the new optional quarantine guidelines given by our governor. Basically, it has to deal with the quarantine of people who are wearing a mask in the positive case scenario where we are now. When we get to that later on in the agenda tonight, and I did, Ms. Mashburn worked this up for us. It just shows you kind of the progression of where we've been, where we started. The health department did, reduce the quarantine number by a few days, and then we've been going with that. And then this shows you what Governor said the health department have recommended for their optional. It is optional. When we get to that point tonight, I will recommend that we stay on our current quarantine plan. I do agree that the optional plan will take away some of the issues of having to close the school from time to time, but I think it puts more of our staff and our kids in danger doing that. So I think that it would be best for us to maintain the current policy. And again, we'll discuss that more later, but I'll ask you for your opinions and we'll go from there on that one. Next, like Diane mentioned, our midterm adjustment. And what the midterm adjustment is, I mean, schools every year, you start off the beginning of the year with a number. You're told what your state aid is going to be for that year. So you start to budget accordingly with that number. And then in October, you submit your student counts to the state. And then normally December, January, the state gives you an updated number. Every year there are winners and there are losers. And it's usually dependent upon whether you experience a growth or a reduction in students. We did experience a reduction, but we're still on our 3-year high. So this cut is entirely off of per student weighted going down. So it has nothing to do with our enrollment, anything like that. This is just a reduction of money that the state has to give schools per student. So this is our cut as it stands now, $678,292. So that's a very healthy chunk of our state aid. Again, like Diane said, we are in an okay position. Kind of my plan, as you can see that next line below, very lucky, very fortunate. The CARES Act this year, we did receive about $1 million earlier in the year. And with the second round, we're going to receive about 3.6. So with that kind of my plan, I'm going to use about $1.5 million of that to offset current expenses that we already have, such as payroll and other general fund expenditures. That way that covers that $600,000 loss and also cushions us a little bit for next year and the following years. The remaining money will be spent various ways between elementary and high school for different curricular needs, COVID-related expenses, equipment, textbooks, whatever the biggest needs are amongst the school. But even though it is bad news, we lose $600,000, but we are just very lucky that other money is going to come in right about the same time. So it will not have a noticeable effect on any employee, any student, or anything that the school does this year or next year. So that is the that's the best thing that I can say as far as that goes. We'll be responsible with that money, make sure we keep some back, and cover our losses and then the next year. Helping them.
So the second round of the CARES Act funding it has been funded
We have not received it, but we know the amount we're gonna get.
under the Trump administration or whatever. And Biden has been talking about having another stimulus for individuals. Has anyone heard about whether it is in his idea or his plan to do the same thing with the CARES funding?
Everything I've read has a schools component, but I don't know what the amounts or anything will be. I do believe there'll be something that comes. What scale that is as far as compared to what we've got already, it'd be pure speculation. But I have read, and everything that I've read as far as the proposals, the school component have been in all those conversations.
Is this 3.6, is it unrestricted?
It is unrestricted to the point we can use it for anything that we currently use Title I funding money for, which that covers people, equipment.
Right.
So that's kind of our saving grace.
So these are
Otherwise,
not like.
yeah,
some of
otherwise
them-
it couldn't be used to help plug that hole. So
Right.
that's one good thing.
Because some of them for different groups had to be related to COVID, and this did not. It just was.
The first round of CARES money had more strings. They, again, we haven't claimed it yet, so they could surprise us at the last minute. But we've been told that there'll be far less strings on this, and they'll be used for basically what we use, anything we use it for now, we can use it with that. If there are no other questions, that's wonderful.
I don't think we have any public to be heard, do we?
No.
No. Okay, discussion and vote to approve or not to approve the following surplus.
I move to approve agenda items F1 and 2.
Second that.
Any discussion? Ms. Walker? Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Mr. Meyer?
Aye.
Ms. Nemo?
Aye.
And I. Business items, consent docket, vote to approve or not to approve the following.
I have a question on the first one, supplemental service contract with Madison Spires for band instruction. Do we know exactly what that is? Is she an assistant teacher that she's not, what is that?
Mr. Allen typically brings in, and I don't know the specific person. Ms. Mashburn, do you know this specific person?
No, but we do a background check, we do all that, and I don't know if the contract says that it's for,
They typically have some type of specialty
Instrumental.
within.
does it say?
Within
He brings
the
them in,
band,
yeah. I know there've been some
Percussion
past students,
specialist or
there've been some
woodwind.
MSU students, who've been, but they're generally a band specialist, I guess we would call it.
I'll move to approve the business items 1A through 1E.
Second that.
Do we have any other discussion? Ms. Nemo?
Aye.
Mr. Meyer?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Ms. Walker?
Aye.
And I. Item H, discussion and vote to approve or not approve the TLE qualitative evaluation waiver and assurances for the 2020-21 school year.
The State Department has allowed us to modify teacher evaluations for this year, kind of similar to what we did last year. And it's optional for schools, you don't have to participate, but we're asking the board to let us seek this waiver. It's just our thought in the middle of everything else that teachers and principals and everybody's dealing with. If we can make the evaluation process a little bit more streamlined, less stressful for them, to me, I'm all for it. We're asking the board to.
Hope for that, I'll tell you.
We're asking the board to approve those waivers.
Your motion?
I'll move to approve.
I'm sorry, Ed.
That's all right. We can both move
I'll second that.
still.
You didn't have to add that. Any discussion? Ms. Nemo?
Aye.
Mr. Meyer?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Ms. Walker?
Aye.
And I. Discussion and vote to approve or not approve the following job description.
And this is a part of our grants, so we just needed a new job description to fill this spot. So just asking you to help us create that one.
I move to
Be a
approve.
new hire?
Yes, but within the confines of the grant budget.
This is for the behavioral
Yes,
program, what,
the long name, I can't think of it either. Yeah.
behavioral something, yes, okay.
No general fund money. This is just a position that was written into that grant. We just have to approve the description.
So I move to approve the job description.
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Walker,
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd,
Aye.
Mr. Meyer,
Aye.
Ms. Emo,
Aye.
and I. Discussion about to approve or not approve the quarantine guidelines as recommended by the Cherokee County Health
I
Department.
move to approve that.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I will need you to make a specific motion on this.
Okay.
So give me just a moment
Sure.
to go over it. The wording on this is as recommended by the Cherokee County Health Department. We had to get the agenda out prior to getting our final answer from the Cherokee County Health Department. Cherokee County Health Department has been amazing to work through this whole process, but their official answer is they will go with what the governor and the health department tell them to do, which that's their job. So that's, we're not complaining about that one bit. So what I would like you to do, somebody, and we can have a conversation and questions, but on the front of this paper that I gave you, you'll see the December 3, 2020 and currently. If we could, unless anybody disagrees, and we need some conversation about it, we just have the motion, the TPS will follow the CDC COVID-19 guidance, and then just the 2 bullet points. Quarantines can after day 10, returns go on day 11, and then the testing conducted on day 5, 6, or 7, which is basically the process that we are using today, last week, the week before that. So just so we're very clear when we talk to the community, we can say this is what the board recommended. We're following CDC guidance. It does differ, from Cherokee County because they are, the governor did put out his, but they did say it's optional. It's in all the writing. It's optional if schools choose to do this. So I've not seen a school yet that has chosen to go the optional route. There may be somebody out there, but I've not read about it or something yet. So if we could, if we don't have any disagreement, if somebody could just make that motion with that language.
Based on the language of this here.
Yes,
Do I need to read all that?
Yes.
if you don't mind.
All right, yes, I will make the motion that we approve the guidelines that are currently effective immediately. The TPS will follow the CDC new COVID-19 guidance supported by the OSDE for quarantines. First, quarantine can end after day 10, return to school day 11 without testing and symptom-free. Second part, if testing is conducted on day 5, 6, 7 of the quarantine, then quarantine can end after day 7 if test is negative, no symptoms. Return to school day 8.
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
And it's also important to note that this doesn't affect positive cases. This is quarantines for people who are around somebody positive. They were positive, they're still following the same guidance. The governor didn't recommend anything different on that.
I do have a question now. How does this motion affect Jay down here if, in fact, the Cherokee County Health Department is going to have to go along with what Governor says?
Well, you're not recommending the Cherokee County, we're recommending this. And that
So-
was a vote to approve or not approve their guidelines. We are recommending our own guidelines.
So then,
Blue of,
do we, since this is on our agenda, do we have to bring this up for a vote and letter J and vote no on that in order to accomplish this change?
Just the motion as read, and we vote on it, to me, that will be sufficient for the school.
Okay, well, I had made a motion on J, which I will rescind in order to do this one.
Well, you already did that
You
one,
did, what
so,
you read
yeah.
was that one.
That rescind it?
We're okay.
Okay,
I think we're good.
all right, as long as we're good, I don't want to
The
be.
attorney said, go ahead, right?
No, I am not an attorney up here. I have a question. So we have, back up a little bit. The governor did his press conference and the new optional guidelines were if you were mask wearing and you were exposed, you did not have to quarantine, even if someone in the classroom was positive.
If you're all wearing masks.
Right. We have said we're not doing that. We're going to continue to do quarantines if you're exposed for 10 days or 8 days if you meet these testing criteria. My concern is the Cherokee County is who has the health department who has told people you need to be quarantined for 10 days, you need to be quarantined for 8 days. If they begin to follow these optional that say, well, if everyone had a mask on, you don't have to be quarantined, will the school then be telling the kids that they have to stay in quarantine?
And that's the difficulty in it. We've talked to the State Department and talked to many other schools, and again, everybody's following this. I'm not telling you we may not have to come back next month and have you do a different motion and go from there. But in the interest of what's best for our people and our kids, I think we're good to go today on this. Now, again, like I said, I don't know any schools that aren't doing this. So as that pressure mounts, it could go one way or the other. The optional could just go off the table and let's not talk about it anymore, or the government can be forceful with it. Say, here's what schools are going to do, or the State Department could come out and say, here's what schools are going to do. Until that time, the language was optional. Schools don't have to do this, it's optional. So we're going to roll with that, and we'll send out letters and tell the parents you're quarantined for this long. Now, there is a high possibility, because we have parents upset all the time that they're getting quarantined, and they'll have specific reasons why they shouldn't be quarantined. One of the saving graces for us is we've been able to say health department quarantines. So now we are coming into some uncharted territory now with that. So if we have to reverse course, if we have to change, if we're told to do different, obviously I would bring that back to the board and go from there. But where I sit today, worried about our teachers and our kids, without the presence of something telling me this is what you have to do. I believe this is what's best for our district. I can't guarantee that we won't have to come back and make some changes.
I agree. I want to be clear that I support
Yeah.
continuing to quarantine people who are in a room with people who are positive,
Yes.
whether or not they had masks on. But I guess what I want to make sure, because if the county health department says we're doing what the governor told us to do, but we still, by adopting this rule, we can tell a kid, even if the health department says you don't have to quarantine, we know that you were in this classroom with this positive, so yes, you have to quarantine, regardless of what these optional guidelines.
Yes.
The board, by adopting this, will still mean if there's a positive in a classroom, then those kids are all going to be quarantined.
We'll be following our policy, and it's not. And again, one of the different things, like at the high school level, it's a little bit easier to trace, and sometimes we don't necessarily have to quarantine a whole class. But usually at the elementary level, it's too hard to know where those kiddos have been all hour long. So that's where the distinction comes in there. And again, I'll be quite honest. I can't tell you that there may not be a legal challenge to this somewhere, even if it's not in Tahlequah, it may be in another school district.
So right now, if you're gonna quarantine, you call the health department.
We will still call the health department. We will still tell them they're positive. They'll still give us our recommendation, but we will be, because like on the positive side, nothing's gonna change. If they're positive, the health department's not changing them. But on the quarantine side, we'll be saying, well, here's what we're gonna do. And to be quite honest, we'll just have to deal with whatever comes with that after the fact. And Ms. Mashburn, you have something to say?
Yes, and talking, I'm in close contact with him for all of our cases. And when I did talk with Mr. Ashlock, and I talked with the lady that we speak to, which is over Cherokee County, it is optional to follow the governor. So if we choose as a district, and most of these county schools have chose not to follow those guidance and to stick with the other CDC, they're going to back us on that. And now we have an online portal that they see, the Oklahoma Health Department and the Oklahoma State Department of Education. So we'll you just put in the name of the kid, they've already got them in there, click positive or close contact, we'll still do the same thing because they will honor. So when they get calls, they will say, your school had the option, and if they chose this, we back this, and they have put it in our system. So they are going to back us
What
on,
department?
unless something crazy happens in the
Cherokee
state.
Cherokee County Health
But
Department.
right now, we have email proof too that she said, yes, we will back whatever your
Okay.
decision until we're told differently.
Well, that's good.
It's
I think there
optional.
needs to be some coverage there, just so you're not saying the
Yes,
health department saying one thing and the school system saying
Right.
another, 'cause we're
right.
not health.
Yeah, and it's a
experts.
difficult situation for schools to be in, to have your
Yes.
governor come out and say there's one
Right.
thing, and then what we've been doing over here, and then you have CDC guidelines here, and so it's an imperfect situation.
Well, I was very glad to hear that we are not quarantining people. That is, the health department is quarantining people. I guess on a recommendations or whatever, so I'm comfortable with that, because like you said, Sean, we're not ones to make,
Right.
to have knowledge to make that, so that's good, that's a good thing.
Any other discussion? All right, Ed made a motion. Did I get a who seconded that? Chrissy? Okay. All right, Ms. Zemo?
Aye.
Mr. Meyer?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Ms. Walker?
Aye.
And I. Discussion of the following 2020-21 THS activities. No vote will be taken.
Okay, and I had to make Brenda change the agenda at the last minute, because I did have a vote on this, and better judgment finally caught up to me, and I figured everybody would think we're trying to cancel all these things, and so I just made sure there's no vote going to be taken, we're just going to discuss. These three events happen every year, so we don't need to vote to have them. What we would have to vote on is if we're not going to have one of them. I'm just going to share my opinions on each three. I would love to hear everybody's takes on it. And then if we need to have an agenda item next month, or whatever the case may be on any one of these, then we'll come back and do that. So tonight is just to check the temperature of the board and see what they think on these things. My thoughts, as of right now, we have graduation scheduled for May 21st. Where we sit today, I see no reason to delay or change that. Last year, we delayed graduation. Obviously, with the information we had, it was the best thing to do at that time. And then, we ended up having it when things were worse than when we had it. So I think we should just have it on plan day with whatever guidelines NSU gives us. Whatever their limits are on people, whatever their directions are for social distancing, masking, whatever the case may be, we follow their rules, but we have it on schedule. We social distance on the field as we did last year. We social distance during practicing. We do our best to make it go as smooth as we can. So that's kind of my thoughts on graduation. I'll jump down and Save a Senior. Save a Senior, last year we allowed that to happen as well. I believe we should do the same this year with the caveat that they bring a plan. Like last year, Save a Senior group presented their plan to the board for their social distancing and traveling and their events. They bring that to us, we approve it. As long as they have a decent plan in place, we allow that to go forward.
Do they have a committee already formed of parents that are raising funds and so on?
I will add a note to that. It's been a difficult year for them. Started out with a little less money than normal, and then the fundraising efforts, just during COVID, it's just hard to do those kinds of things. So they are a little bit handicapped as far as, where groups have been in the past as far as money earned and raised. So that will be an issue for them as far as what they can do.
Can you remind us on that? So I know they ended up, the Save a Senior last year was when they went to.
Went to the water.
Water park.
I don't know what it's called now, but,
Safari goes.
and part of that was because they could not have, they couldn't have it at NSU because of the restrictions in place
Yes.
at the time. So I think it's important to reiterate that, we need maybe a couple of options, right? If they don't do the exact same thing they did last year and it seemed to work out well, but knowing that, come May, there may still be restrictions in place on
Yes.
large indoor gatherings and that type of thing.
Any option they present will have to conform to NSU or wherever they're looking at. And it's a real possibility this year. It may need to happen here. It need to be on school grounds just for financial purposes. And that's obviously an option that we'll let them do that. But again, I just think we give them the message that they present their plan to the board, and then the board can decide if they want to move forward with the Save a Senior, which I don't see a reason not to. We did last year, when school was out and we weren't doing anything else. So, we're in school doing most things this year, so as long as they present their plan to the board like that, I think we should allow them to do that. The final one is prom, which this is the one that we didn't have last year. I'm torn on this one. Last year, it was kind of an easy decision. We said no prom because we were doing nothing. We weren't in school, we had no athletics, we were just shut down. This year, we're playing basketball, we're playing football, we're doing most things under social distancing guidelines. So to me, it's a little less clear cut to say you can't have a prom. I do know, I agree and understand you can't social distance and dance, and I get that, but I kind of wanted to lay that out there so we can start having some thoughts about that, because I do know it may be a quick decision to say, no, don't have it. But then also on the flip side, I think it's important to look at what we are having within our district. And then, should we allow this to happen under what conditions? And I don't have that answer right now as to what a perfect social distance prom would look like. And these kids are hanging out together, outside of school and doing those things. And last year they had apparently a prom, so they still went and did it. I think, visiting with Miss Mashburn, she's visited with the high school staff who sponsor and do that work. They're in favor of trying to have it. So again, just for discussion purposes, we're not deciding anything tonight. Just kind of want you guys to kind of be thinking about that. And, if there's any concern voiced tonight, maybe we could have a vote on that next month or whatever the board, whatever your thoughts are.
Remind me about the issue with the money last year. They had put money down on some venue, but it was through the.
I think.
They got to
Yeah,
return.
we took care of all
Activity
that.
account, and the money comes into the activity account, and we have to release that money.
Well, they have a prom fund and kids pay to go. And no money has been spent this year on it just because they didn't know if they were going to have it. So we don't have that problem as of right now. But that's kind of wanted to talk about it now. That way they can start planning. Because if we're not going to have one, they're still going to have apparently a prom, probably. So we just need to know which way we're going to go with that.
But I remember some issue about releasing money.
Yes, they had already paid for the venue,
Okay,
and then
right.
we had canceled, so we had to go back and do some more.
Okay.
But that's,
So there's nothing we can do sort of ahead of time to work around any issue like that so that they have that freedom.
We just have to know, we don't have a venue right now.
Okay.
yeah, there's nothing
So
planned on
there's
there.
Right, I know there's
nothing planned at all.
nothing
That was
planned
our
right
plan.
at the moment, but I just remember that was a hot issue.
Yeah, because that was paid before
Yes.
we even were talking about COVID,
Right.
and then COVID hit, so that was kind of a unique situation.
Okay.
I think we're a little premature here. Even next month, I think would be too early. March, maybe. I tend to be optimistic, and I'm hoping that by the time we get to May, that we're going to have a significantly different situation in Oklahoma than what we have now. I think there'll be many more people that have gone through the vaccinations and are going to be immune, or at least mostly immune. That's my personal feeling about it. And I just don't think it's going to be as big of an issue, but it's a little early right now to tell. Even this morning on the news, they said Oklahoma has begun to go back. Their cases are beginning to drop. Positivity rate is going down. Our not hospitalizations, but everything is beginning to get better. A little bit, just an increment that they said today is beginning to show. So I'm very hopeful that, come maybe March or April, that this will be something that we will be much more comfortable approving and
What month do we usually have prom in?
It's usually in April.
April.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah.
it is early, but I mean, our next board meeting is February,
Uh-huh.
March, April. I mean,
They have to
they've
get
got to
a
put
venue.
planning, they got to do venues, I mean,
Yeah.
girls buy
I
dresses.
understand.
So I mean, it's,
Yeah, I understand.
we can't really tell them the month before. I mean, we can, I mean, but just out of courtesy, I think we need to give them, several months to plan. One way or the other, because like I said, if we're not gonna have it, I have no doubt they'll still have it.
Well, the Save the Senior thing is that they're already raising money for that.
Yes.
And is the question you're really bringing up here is the prom situation. And even though we canceled the prom last year, didn't have it because we didn't want the responsibility or the liability of that. Many of the parents had got together and had a little quote prom. Did Morgan go last year to a prom?
We used to dress up and took pictures, but she didn't.
Yeah, but many did, and, if it doesn't work out and they have to do that again, fine, I mean, that's there, as long as we're not liable, but, I'm pretty hopeful that things are gonna turn around here, within the next couple of months, so.
And is there any, I was just wondering if we could put all three of these things on the agenda. We could always table, but at least to have this conversation again, because I understand what Ed's saying, but also if we're here in February and, numbers are probably gonna go up or down, one or the other, right? And if we were not gonna have a prom in April, telling them in February would be much better than telling them in March or April. And so I'm wondering if there's a way that we can put them on the agenda, and maybe we don't do graduation and Save the Senior yet, but at least put the issue of whether or not to say that we're going to have a prom on February agenda and we vote on it, and understanding that things could change, right? We can come back in March and say, we know we said we were gonna do it, but the numbers are so high, but at least we would have, they would be able to plan that whether the school's gonna pay for the venue or parents are gonna pay for a venue. So I think since we're not voting, and we can't vote today, that we put it on next month just to have a conversation again, see where we're at, and try to give them some direction. Because right now, we're just saying, well, we'll just wait and see what it looks like. And so I think we put it on next time just to talk about it and possibly vote if we.
See what's happening, what's trending in February, and.
I would, and again, disagree with me if you want. I'm all for having an agenda item to approve the prom next month. I would say it's probably best to not have graduation on there, so we don't have anybody thinking we're trying to cancel graduation. Because from what I gather, I think everybody's okay with us having graduation. So just do prom, and then we let Save the Senior know that they need to present their plan in a time where they can still put on their event, whether that's next month or the month after. We'll let that kind of be up to them, and they can get it together. So I mean, that would be my idea, but then again, you guys feel free to, we can do all three. It's not a big deal. I just kind of want
Probably.
to avoid any drama if we can do so.
Even from a parental point of view, it's easier to say no in the beginning and then change to yes than to say yes and then come back and say no. So, so we should keep that in mind. Once we've said yes.
Yeah, I think in the end though, no matter what we say, they're gonna do it anyway.
Yes.
That's what I
So-
say.
But
So, I
it's,
mean,
it's not the same for all the kids though. When a group of parents separate out and do it, I don't feel like it includes the overall student body to the same extent as if we have a prom that,
That's
you know, the availability. I'd like if we're gonna have it for everyone to feel very comfortable going.
I am personally okay with having a prom this year just for the fact that we're doing everything else.
Yes.
So if I can tell kids that you can't have a prom, but you can go play basketball. You can't have a prom, but you can go play football. You can, so that's where I have a trouble
Are we still
saying,
having wrestling?
yeah, I mean, we're having just about everything. I mean, under OSSA guidelines, so.
I don't know what the guidelines could be for that associated.
Well, but
And a match is different.
in the sports areas, football and so on, they're being tested regularly, aren't they? Are they not?
And then
Not in high school.
They're not?
No.
not high school, maybe NFL, some college bowl games, maybe.
I think graduation and Save a Senior are set, but I do believe that Save a Senior Committee needs to bring some possibilities to us. Because there's gonna be guidelines at NSU and Cherokee, if they wanted to have that room out there or wherever. But I think prom will happen whether we vote yes or no. And they're all hanging out right now. They're going to school. They have an option to go face to school and,
Well,
but I don't want to wait. I mean, I know we're not gonna vote tonight, but I don't think we want to just keep holding it off every month. And we either need to tell them yes or tell them no. And then if we tell them no, they can go ahead and have the parents.
And they
Start
might
working
have
on
to
prom.
use the high school as the venue, so if something bad did come up, I mean, you're not canceling out all this costly stuff, but I mean, they've had it at the high school
At the
before.
cafeteria, would be
They've
nice.
had a prom there, not probably their perfect place to have it, but
It's a prom.
And we can have some of the high school staff who supervise it perhaps come next month and, give us their ideas. And there are other schools having proms, I know, so maybe there's things out there they can find. Here's ideas that other schools have done and just present that to the board and kind of go
Are
from there.
so I understand there's, a lot of work for prom. There's the decorating, there's the selling of tickets, the actual chaperoning. Do the employees who participate in that, are they there? I mean, is that part of their job and they're there because they're getting paid? Are they all volunteers? Is it both?
They're stopping for.
Or for being on the
For
prom?
planning and
committee or
decorating
whatever.
and doing all that.
But my only concern would be that we, if we have it and we sponsor it, we have a teacher who has not been able to get vaccinated, who has to be there, who may not, who may be able to lower their exposure in their.
And I wouldn't make any of our staff go, they don't wanna go. Even if they're on the prom, and even if they're getting a stipend for it, if they don't wanna go, we'll see if somebody else would like to do it, or I need to do it, or whatever the case may be. No teacher will be forced to go to prom. No
do they
kid will
have
be
parent
forced to go to prom.
chaperones as well?
I'm not 100% sure,
we
no.
just do staff as the chaperones.
Been so long since
I
that.
know last year, part of the issue was if it was school sponsored, then we would have our SROs who could provide
The breathalyzer.
security and that kind of thing, whereas if they did it on their own, it was just kind of left up to what they would be able to get people to volunteer to do. So I think that's a real consideration that we take on some liability when the school's sponsoring it, but we also can provide some protections that maybe aren't there if it's a private party, so.
Okay, well, I'm gonna proceed with putting the prom on the agenda next month,
Yep.
telling Save a Senior to present a plan. If anybody wants anything different, just send me a message, and we can
That's a good idea.
add anything to the agenda before then. So.
Okay. Item L, discussion and vote to approve or not approve the schedule of encumbrances.
I move to approve the schedule of encumbrances.
A second.
Any discussion? Ms. Walker?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Mr. Meyer?
Aye.
Ms. Nemo?
Aye.
And I. Item M, motion and vote to approve or not to approve personnel items.
I need to say something. On the job transfers, the carry-in jocks, that should not say special care para, it should just be paraprofessional.
Okay,
She's not gonna be a special care. Other than that, everything else is okay.
Okay, I move to approve personnel items, and one on M 1 through 4 with the following names under item M2 for employment. Samantha Murray, Cherokee PT Parasub, Jennifer Garvin, TMS Speech Path pending certification, Maury Elizabeth Panita, THS PT Parasub, Shayna Turner, Greenwood PT Parasub, Deanna Quarles, Greenwood PT Parasub, and Michaela Holman, TMS PT Parasub.
this need to put in his motion, you need to put in your
With the
motion about
yes.
carry-in jobs.
Okay,
That,
and with the note of carrying Jock's position is
a paraprofessional instead of special care
Okay,
para.
as a paraprofessional.
Uh-huh.
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Nemo?
Aye.
Mr. Meyer?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Ms. Walker? And I. Extra duty assignment, did we include, did we?
Yes, that was
number
four.
All right, we have some new business.
Yes.
Item in.
We have the academic team is making state tournament, and that date is before our next board meeting. And we didn't get it in time, for you. So did we leave a copy of those for them up here?
Yes,
Okay, all right,
everybody
thank you.
should have one.
Okay, so we're just approving that overnight trip for the academic team.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Nemo?
Aye.
Mr. Meyer?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Ms. Walker?
Aye.
And I. And do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
No, we have lots of discussion. Ms. Walker?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Mr. Meyer?
Aye.